everybody, welcome back to the Amateur Hour podcast. My name is Jacob. Deshaun has joined me yet again for today's episode. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
And today we're talking about the most overrated player in the NBA, Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum has been regarded as a superstar. In the summer, he was regarded as a potential MVP candidate. And so far this season, he's been regarded to as a probable all-star in the Eastern Conference. And here, we're here to tell you why that is all absolute bullshit.
Oh, man. Jayson Tatum's probably one of the most average dudes with such a high amount of shots taken per game. Like it's
I don't think he's average. I think
he shoots 40% from the field, and that is league average.
In terms of his talent, I don't think he's average. I think he's above average. I think he's a good player.
No, I think he's a good player, but he's not an all-star. He's not a superstar.
No.
He's not an MVP candidate, and to be honest,
he's not a star.
He's not even the best small forward on his team. like Jaylen Brown is a better player on his team. The stats say it. Less shots, more points. He's literally a better player. More efficient. I don't know. When it comes to
Jaylen Brown plays less minutes, barely. Less minutes. He shoots almost 10% better from the field. He shoots 37% from three as opposed to Tatum's 36. Puts up 19.3 points per game instead of Tatum puts up 20.6, but Jaylen Brown shoots the ball 14.7 times per game. Jayson Tatum shoots the ball 18.2 times a game.
So he shoots the ball 4 more times and gets a point and a half more.
Not even.
You know what I mean? When it comes to Jayson Tatum, I thought, in the draft, he was a very promising player. You saw what they did, obviously, when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward went down his first season. And you think this guy could be a superstar. He could be an all-star caliber player. And, last year, his sophomore season, I don't know what it was with Kyrie, but they didn't really mesh for some reason. But this year, he's getting the chance to shoot the ball obviously 20 times, per game, and it's still not there. And Jayson Tatum, I think he has 7 career 30-point games, or not even I think it's 3 career 30-point games. From a guy who's supposed to be a superstar, supposed to be a franchise player, and he's the third best player in his team right now.
There was actually a post on Instagram by @HoopersDebate who posted a picture of Jayson Tatum and Chris Middleton and asked people to vote who's a better player. And Jayson Tatum won with 406 votes to Middleton's 228. But then Hooper's Debate also posted the stat line for Jayson Tatum and he posted the stat line for Chris Middleton without showing their names. So just the stat lines with no context. And of those, 1,126 people voted for Chris Middleton and 177 voted for Jayson Tatum. So it just shows you that although people look at Jayson Tatum and might think he's some star, in actuality, he really is no better than Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton shoots the ball 14 times a game, just under, puts up 18 points, 40% from three, which is the same as Jayson Tatum shoots, period, and 49% from the field for Chris Middleton. It's astonishing. The only way Jayson Tatum gets numbers is high volume of shots. He just shoots the ball a ton.
He's got Jayson Tatum syndrome. It's the mid-range game and these bad.
He shoots a lot from mid-range.
Long
fit the dynamic.
Long contested twos and I don't know.
Look, if you wanna look at, eye test wise, you might think that Jayson Tatum maybe looks better because he just looks good on the ball. He's better on the ball than these guys, but if he doesn't shoot the ball this much, he's not going to get his points. He just hucks it up from mid-range so often. That's how he gets these points. And he's not efficient from three either. He's not hitting these crazy step backs from three. He's open for a lot of. He's got to get his open shot from 3 to hit them, and he doesn't. He shoots it. He shoots it decent. He shoots it at an acceptable rate. 36%, excuse me, is acceptable to shoot from 3-point range. But he only shoots 40% from 3. 40% from the field in total. This is fine for a player on an NBA team. Like, this is fine to shoot, like, was that efficiency? It's not bad. Yeah. That's fine. But for people to claim that this is a star when he's not even, like, the focal point on his team, this is incredible to me, because he's not the focal point on this team. Like, Kemba Walker is better than Jayson Tatum. Jaylen Brown is better than Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum's been playing the 4 this season because they're playing Jaylen Brown at the 3. Like, it's remarkable to me how people rate Jayson Tatum. And I'm going to be honest, I gave Jaylen Brown a lot of stick at the start of the season after he signed that contract, and I think it was a bad move by the Celtics. But Jaylen Brown is somebody, I've been critical of both these players. Jaylen Brown has proven me wrong. He has 100% proven me wrong about what I said about him, because he has upped his game significantly over the summer after Kyrie Irving left. But Jayson Tatum, even though he's putting up more points, he has to shoot the ball so much, and his efficiency has regressed a lot more than his other 2 seasons that he's had in the NBA. This is statistically, by his efficiency, the worst season he's had in the NBA. What do you have to say?
40% for me, like, that's not an all-star, not a superstar. That's a nothing. Like, Westbrook, and you've been critical of Westbrook, probably one of the most inefficient superstars ever. Westbrook, like, in his all-star superstar seasons, he's shot 42%. That's been the lowest he's been at. Obviously with the high volume, and he's scoring a little bit more, but 40% to me, like, that's not good enough. Like, your team at the end of the day, like, the average shooting percentage of, like, a team at the end of the game is usually around 43-44% when you include everything. And it's just, offenses are tailored to the 3 right now, and Jayson Tatum takes these ugly, long, contested 2s, and he doesn't make them. Like, he makes
enough.
He makes 4 out of 10 of those shots, and it's like, you're not getting me points by doing
that.
It's
probably not even 4 out of 10, because a lot of the field goals are probably in close to the rim. Like, from mid range, if you want to look at the advanced stats, you want to go to his distances, you want to go to his deep mid range shooting. He shoots. Let me just find it here. Like, from deep 2-point range, he shoots almost 20% of his shots from deep 2-point, like deep 2-pointers. And, like, in closer to mid-range, he only shoots under 10% of his total field goal attempts. So he shoots a high volume from long 2s, and he doesn't make a ton of them. Like, his efficiency from those distances hover around 40 as well. Like, so it is about 40%, but oh no, it's worse than that. It's 36% from those distances. So even though he's taking a ton of these shots, it's not efficient, and it's really deteriorating his team's performance, because he's got to take so many shots. It ruins the flow of the team, because he's creating these mid-range shots for himself, ruining the sets, shooting 18 times a game to put up 20 points. Do you know how many times Jimmy Butler has to shoot to put up 20 points per game?
How many times?
Like, less than 14. Less than 14 shots to put up the same amount of points. Jaylen Brown puts up just under 20 points per game, and he only has to shoot the ball 14.7 times. And this is a guy in the same team. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I think that, unfortunately, Jayson Tatum, just because of where he plays, he will be an all-star. I just don't think he's deserving of being an all-star. Like, I think that would be a player.
It's ludicrous for people to say.
But I think he will be one. I think in the Boston market, he's on one of the top teams. He's one of the more known players in the league. I just think even if there are players, outperforming him, he'll be an all-star. Like, I think before they ever make, for example, Fred VanVleet an all-star, they'll make Jayson Tatum an all-star. I think that's just a case with certain teams. The second star is an all-star even if he doesn't perform to it. I think that's similar to, situations in the past where you can look at guys and be like, oh, they've been better than, other players. Like, for example, I didn't think Chris Middleton was an all-star last year.
No.
But, he was there because he was Giannis's second guy, and he knocked down his shots when he had to. I think there were players more deserving. Like, I feel like last year, Pascal NIP could have been, he could have been an all-star, but it happens in the league. Like, I think Jayson Tatum will be an all-star, and some guy that is probably playing a lot better than he is right now won't be an all-star.
I agree. I mean, looking statistically, Jayson Tatum is literally Tobias Harris. Those guys, they're the same players. And we were talking about on yesterday's upload how Tobias Harris is not deserving of a max contract, which I think Tatum is on course to receive a max contract.
He will, yeah.
And
he got this exact same contract, 5 years, 100.
I really don't see that value there. But like, if we want to talk let me just read around the All-Star take. Guys like Devontae Graham are putting up 19.4 points per game on 15.5 shots per game with better efficiency than Jayson Tatum. Those are the kind of guys that are going to get snubbed for Jayson Tatum, in my opinion.
And that's what I mean.
But on the Tobias Harris point, Tobias Harris puts up 19.7 points per game, shoots the ball 16 times, 49% from the field, 32% from three. In terms of rebounds, they both put up 7 rebounds a game, 3 assists per game. Like, it's astonishing. But they're both threes who are playing at the 4, basically. Like, you can say maybe one of them's a 4, but they're both threes playing at the 4, in my opinion. These guys are so similar. But does anybody look at Tobias Harris and think that's an all-star? That's a guy who can win MVP this season? No chance.
No.
Absolutely not. Tobias Harris is like a role player. I know he's getting paid like a superstar, but when I talk about overrated players, money cannot be a factor in a player being overrated. Just because a team has paid for a guy because they'd rather have him at that expense than to not have him, you can't use that as comparison. You can't say Chris Middleton's overrated because he gets paid a lot of money. You can say he's overrated because he made an all-star team and he shouldn't have. But not that he's paid, whereas other people aren't.
I agree.
So, in this scenario, Tobias Harris puts up very similar stats to Jayson Tatum, shoots a little bit less, and is much more efficient from the field. Doesn't shoot as well from 3. I'll give you that, 32% compared to Jayson Tatum's 36%. But they are so similar in everything they do. Like, they both have 7 rebounds, and they both, like, Jayson Tatum for assists has this season 2.9. Tobias Harris has 3.3. Jayson Tatum has 7 rebounds. Tobias Harris has 6.9, I believe. Yes, 6.9. It's astonishing the similarities. But if you, like, let's say there was just a blind debate without seeing stats. You ask somebody who's better, Tobias Harris or Jayson Tatum, who would you say?
You say Jayson
More
Tatum.
people would say Jayson Tatum,
absolutely.
but the stats are so similar. And Tobias Harris isn't even a guy who gets a dominant role. He's on the Philadelphia 76ers, and you can argue that maybe he doesn't get as tight of defense as guys like Simmons and Embiid, but Jayson Tatum is probably the third option on his team right now, behind Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker. You can say the same thing. So why does Jayson Tatum get all these extra sets on offense? Tobias Harris is more of a role player. And we were talking about before, who would you rather have on your team, Tobias Harris or Jayson Tatum? We both probably say Tobias Harris, but to contextualize it, if you have a good team, you want Tobias Harris because he's going to put up those stats without the ball. But if you need a ball-dominant player, you probably want Jayson Tatum because he's a better ball handler than these guys that we have been talking about. But overall, you probably want Tobias Harris because he can do this with less touches. Like, the efficiency is there compared to Jayson Tatum.
I think it's just crazy that Jayson Tatum is a superstar, all-star, MVP caliber player without ever showing that, that's exactly who he is. Like, he's shown that he has the fundamentals to get there, but he doesn't play at that level. and he has yet to play at that level. Like, in the playoffs when he was playing really well, he was dropping 20 points on good efficiency, so you're like, yeah, like, maybe he could get it, to the point where he is, a face of a franchise player, but Jayson Tatum, he's just been so stagnant. He's been very average. He's been, very ball dominant.
His efficiency has regressed. When he has to shoot more,
I'm pretty sure it's gone down every single year.
It has.
So
and it's continuing. It's a big decrease this season.
Exactly. So as he's getting more shots, his efficiency is going down, which happens obviously with younger
but
players.
It shouldn't be this big.
40% is, it's not superstar, it's not all-star caliber. It's a guy who's heaving a lot of really bad shots.
Let me tell you his career field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. So from the field, rookie year, 47.5, sophomore 45, this season 41. From 3-point, he went from 43 to 37 in his sophomore year, and now he's at 36. So obviously those can increase. We're still relatively early in the season, but that's a big decrease.
Yeah.
And people are talking about how he's made such a significant jump this season. But yeah, if anybody shoots that much, they're gonna get that many points. Like, come on.
But I don't. The points that's the most appalling thing to me is like, the points aren't at a point where if he's averaging 25 and he's shooting inefficiently, that's different. But he's averaging 20 on basically 20 shots on 40% shooting, and like it doesn't look good. Like, his game is just ugly. Like, it's very ISO heavy. He's not getting his teammates involved. Like, I don't know how you can look at his.
It's stat wise and eye test wise. You look and you see it's not
like
there.
his eye test, especially like his frame of work just isn't all-star or superstar caliber. Like, I don't really know what else to kind of say. Like, just when I look at Jayson Tatum, I'm not like, oh, like, I'd rather have Jayson Tatum over Pascal Siakam. There's no situation where I can have another young star that I'd be like, oh, like, let me plug in Jayson Tatum and build a team around him instead of whoever I have. Like, any player in that that rookie class. So he's obviously, I believe, was third for rookie of the year voting with Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons. Would those teams rather have Jayson Tatum than him? I don't believe so. You know what I mean? Like,
no, absolutely not.
Like, you know what I mean? So that's a really tough situation. The only team that probably wish they picked Jayson Tatum and that had the opportunity would be the Lakers, but that's because it's Lonzo Ball, and Lonzo Ball's nowhere close to a superstar. But
and you gotta think positionally what they had at the time.
No, and positionally exactly. So when it comes to Jayson Tatum, body of work, it's just not there. Like,
if you want to bring up the defensive capabilities, I mean, decent defender on the perimeter. Yes, he gets 1.4 steals per game. He puts that along with 0.8 blocks per game. Tobias Harris puts up 0.9 steals, 0.9 blocks. Not too far under for steals, but there's definitely a bit of leniency towards Jayson Tatum on defense. But like, is that worth it? Like, I get he's a good defender, but is that worth it to have that? Like, to have this guy who's really, like, he's supposed to be a star apparently, but really throwing off those offensive sets. Like honestly, he's throwing off these offensive sets for these guys, and his plus minus per 100 possession on court this season is negative 1.5. Tobias Harris plus 6.5. And these are two guys on contenders in the East.
Yeah.
I believe Boston's third, and Philly is in second at the moment. The on-court plus minus, like the jump had this metric where it was pure plus minus.
Yeah, I've
where
seen it.
Jayson Tatum is sixth in the league. Honestly, I don't know a ton about that metric, but I have the on-court per 100 possession plus minus. Jayson Tatum is in the negative. Tobias Harris plus 6.1.
Jayson Tatum doesn't play.
It's eye test. It's stats. It's the basic stats. It's the advanced stats. It's everything. It just shows you this guy is just good, just good. You're a second or third option. He's not a guy who can lead your team.
I agree with you.
If the Boston Celtics are going to be successful, he can be part of it, but he's not going to be the reason. Kemba Walker is going to be the reason that the Boston Celtics have success this season deep in the playoffs, if they manage to do that. It's not going to be Jayson Tatum. And I'm gonna feel really sorry for guys who don't get the All-Star call, who deserve it if Jayson Tatum gets ahead of them. Like, if I can, like, we'll see the teams when they get put out, and if Jayson Tatum's in, well, we can talk about guys who deserve to be there, but man, Jayson Tatum, just the hoops debate thing is so enlightening that we saw on Instagram where people voted for Tatum above Middleton. But then you look at the stats and you go, it's Middleton by a landslide. Like,
yeah.
He got
like 3-4 times the...
even more. Five times the votes than Tatum got. It's utterly ridiculous. I mean, I've said this before.
And that's what the name thing does. Like, people don't even take in the eye test for the stats.
Can you imagine the slander Andrew Wiggins would receive for shooting the ball 18 times a game and only putting up 20 points per game? Could you imagine the slander Andrew Wiggins would receive for that?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of bias toward Jayson Tatum. I don't know where it stemmed from. It must have stemmed from the Cavaliers Boston Celtics series in his rookie season. It must be from that. And I don't know why that is the reason why people look at him like that, but that has to be the reason.
That's the only time in his career where he's played above.
Yes. Where he's excelled to a point where he's taking his team further and to a new level.
Exactly.
That's the only time I've ever seen it. I've only ever seen it that he's ever experienced it. Me, Roman, and Colin had a pretty heated discussion earlier on in the life of this podcast. It was the episode is titled "The Most Overrated Player in the NBA." I'm a firm advocate that it's Jayson Tatum. Roman said Andrew Wiggins, which is ridiculous even today.
Andrew Wiggins is better than Jayson Tatum is today. Right now in the NBA,
First of all, nobody rates Andrew Wiggins, to be honest. Second of all, Andrew Wiggins is balling this season.
He's better. He's better this year. If you give me either small forward, I want Andrew. He's balling.
And Colin said Chris Middleton's overrated because of how much money he makes. But my argument, again, is that money should not be a factor in this discussion. It's not. Jayson Tatum, sum it up, is Tobias Harris. And you got to look at Tobias Harris. How you look at Tatum, how you look at Harris has to be pretty similar. The jobs they do for their teams, and there's not much more that I can say. Like, it's laughable to me that he's getting all this undeserved credit, and that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I think I gotta agree. He's very overrated. Do you think Jayson Tatum gets to a superstar caliber in his career?
He's 21.
Yeah.
So I think I always say efficiency comes with age. I think.
Like, what's his ceiling?
People talked about all summer how Tatum was working with Kobe, so maybe that's why he's shooting the ball so damn much. What's his ceiling? He could be an MVP level player. Honestly, could get there at some point. Is he there? No, he's not close. Is he an all-star? No. But he can be perennial all-star. He can be putting up 22, 23 points per game, but he's got to get more efficient. The amount of times he shoots the ball warrants a player who should be putting up 23 to 25 points per game. Like, I don't see why that can't happen. At least 22 points per game with 18 shots. Yeah. I don't see why he can't achieve that. And I don't see why he can't shoot 45 plus from the field, and why he can't continue to shoot 37.5 from three. Why he can't get back to that point in his career like he was in his rookie season. Why is his rookie season his most efficient season? Yeah. Right? I'm saying efficiency comes with age, but it's not coming for him. I think he will get to a point where he's an all-star. I think he could potentially, like absolute max, be like on the level of MVP players, or even like a tick down. But he's not going to be there this year, for sure. I don't think he's going to get there next year. But in the future, it could happen. Realistically, I give him max, like, if I'm predicting, he's an all-star player. He's an all-star.
Perennial all-star.
Perennial all-star. No, maybe not every single season, actually, but I don't think he's going to be the first guy on a contending team at any point in his career.
Yeah.
I think he needs help. He can be a second option, but I don't think he's ever going to be the number one guy. Or at least if he is, he's got another guy right beside him in terms of ability. He's not going to be the leading factor for a successful team. That's my take on this. And a lot of people think I'm a Jayson Tatum hater, but I don't hate Jayson Tatum.
You actually have his jersey.
I mean, I did get his jersey as a Secret Santa gift. Fuck you, Roman, for buying me that, by the way. But I'm not a Jayson Tatum hater. I hate the undeserved credit that he gets for literally doing nothing in his career.
Absolutely.
And that's a good way to end off the episode. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Amateur Hour PDC. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, and keep coming back. We post every single day to keep you up to date with the sporting world.